Let's go ahead and get started today. I hope everybody had a good break. I am through most of the research papers. Still have a few that I need to finish grading, but hope to have them done and back to everybody by Wednesday. Also, don't forget that at the end of the week, the revision of the philosophy of ministry essay is due. Hopefully some things we talked about today, as well as the reading and the other things that you've been looking at over the semester will have helped you with that. But don't forget that that's coming up. And then Wednesday, we'll spend some time reviewing for the final, talking about some things to expect. But between now and then, the study guide is available on Blackboard, so if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me about that. So today I want us to kind of revisit the question of ministry, what ministry is, and review some things that we've talked about before. Hold on a second. But also talk about them maybe in a new way and think about them in a different context. So I want to first start off by having you look at a couple of pictures and telling me what you see. Probably, at least this first one, you may have noticed before. Looking at this picture, what is it that you see?
First thing I see is a woman looking at the way.
All right. So, how would you describe that woman's age? Young, old?
She looks like Will from X-Men. She's got that brown hair.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, really, it looks like she has brown hair. It's like a
Okay. But age-wise, would you say she's younger? Okay. Who sees the younger woman? Okay. Who sees an old woman? Some of you have seen the picture before, right? Who doesn't see the older woman? Her mouth, right here. This is her nose. Her eyes. You see it now? Okay. All right. Optical illusion, of course. If you've been exposed to this, you know what to expect. You know that there's both a younger woman and an older woman, depending on how you look at it. And even those of you that have seen both probably tend to focus on one or catch one first. So the optical illusion, of course, has to do with your perception. And depending on how you perceive, right, this is either a chin, right, a jawline, or it's a nose. Now the picture, of course, is done in such a way that it can be both, but it's to mess with your perception. How about in this picture? What's this a picture of? Or what's in this picture? Who's seen this one before? Anybody seen this one before? Okay.
I see the
legs. You see legs?
I see legs from a mustache.
Legs from a mustache.
I see the head. It looks like Charles Darwin or something.
Okay.
And then the guy looks like he's a mariachi.
Yeah.
And the woman holding the baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
The dog like a hand.
Is it a dog or is it a hand?
The dog, but it's a mariachi guy.
Mr. Kane, he's not actually a mariachi guy.
I know. That looks like.
That may say more about stereotypes than it might say about. All right. So you see the woman. Anybody not see the woman and the older man in the picture? Right here, older Kane. Right? So probably caught the guy first, and then of course is it a dog, is it a hand, it's a dog. You see the other faces in the picture? There's one facing you, one facing away. How about this picture? What do you notice in this picture?
Must be privacy.
5. It also helps to have the title. How many horses do you see in this picture? Are you sure? Okay. Which block?
7. It's the one over the top.
This one?
Yeah.
And this one? There's 2 in here.
There's one of those over the bottom. It's up to the bottom right.
One right in here. 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 Are there any horses up top?
Pretty much the D and N.
This one. There's that one.
It's actually in the E.
How about, what do you see in this picture? Now you're looking for something hidden, right? But there's nothing necessarily hidden in this picture. What's this picture of? Family. What else is in this picture? Nothing hidden. I'm not. Don't. It's just like, I mean, the dogs kind of blend in there, but that's not necessarily hidden. There's not some sort of secret writing on the floor or anything.
Looks like it might be 2 grandparents, 3 generations of people.
Okay. Where are they?
In a house.
How do you know it's a house?
The window.
Okay.
Kind of like the corner, I guess.
All right. You show this picture, I've been told, if you show this picture to people in Africa, they do not see a window.
Yeah, I don't see a window. I see a painting.
Okay. I don't see a painting either. Why do you say it's a window?
I guess like a 3-dimensional.
Well,
There's a little bit on the top right,
yeah, a little bit of the
I guess it's a tree. There's a tree out there, might be like a read out. So
Could like flip the 3 dimensions and have like looks like a box on your head.
Right. That's what most people in Africa would say. It's one with a box on their head. Now, why would they say the box instead of a window? I mean, it's most clearly a window, isn't it? Or is it? What do you think is more of a common sight in Africa? Windows or people with carrying things on their head? Much more common African culture to see people carrying things on their head. They're transporting them. Right? So they tend to see someone with a package on her head as opposed to necessarily a window, which is what we tend to think of. Now, essentially, what we're talking about here has to do with ideas related to perception. All of these pictures are shaped by our perception of reality. And the first 3, of course, are meant to mess with your perception of reality. They are intentionally depicted to, have you either see one thing at first or encourage you to look deeper and then gradually discover more things intricate in the painting or the artwork. But when it comes down to perception, there are some things that we need to recognize about perception. Some of it shaped by culture, right? The picture of the woman with the passage or the window above her head is shaped by culture. It's shaped by what we typically tend to see, and that's why in other cultures they might see things that are different. Think about it right now. Don't necessarily have to answer out loud, but what are the things that you are perceiving and are aware of right now? Now, it could be a variety of things, but there are a lot of other things going on that we might not recognize. You might see the screen, right? You might feel the chair under you. Do you perceive the dust that is floating around in the room? Do you hear the hum of the lights or the projector? Do you hear the other people in the room breathing? Some of these things we might notice, we might not have noticed at first, but once our attention's drawn to them, okay, now I hear the hum. But there are some things that are in existence, in the reality around us, that we're not aware of consciously. We learn to tune out. Right? We have both dust in the air around us landing on us, as well as, and this is a lovely thought, flakes of skin falling off of us that are contributing to the dust that we're consciously unaware of. They're taking place, but we're not conscious of them. So there are a lot of things that exist in reality that we don't necessarily become aware of. So that's essentially what's depicted in this chart. There is a world around us, a universe around us, in which a lot of things are taking place. There are only, however, a certain number of potential experiences that we might be involved in. Why? Why is of all the experiences that could exist in the universe, we have a limited number of potential experiences? Why can we not experience everything that could possibly take place in the world in this exact moment?
Because they're not omnipresent.
All right. Well, yeah, we're bounded by being in a location. Right. So there's a lot of things going on just in the world around us, in the state around us, in the nation around us, the universe around us. We cannot experience because we are bounded by physical limitations. But there are only some of those experiences that we can necessarily sense. So there are things that are not necessarily perceivable by the senses. We're bounded. I can't experience what you necessarily are experiencing right now because I cannot sense what is taking place in your mind, in your brain, in your body at that moment. And so there are only a variety of a limited number of potential experiences because I'm bounded by limitations of the body. There are only a certain amount of experiences that I can sense. Things that I can touch, see, taste, etc. But again, there are limitations to that because there are only certain experiences that I'm conscious of. Can you imagine what it would be like if you were conscious of all the things just the sensory information that your body is really taking in right now? Hearing all the potential things that are here right now. if you constantly heard the hum of everything, if you constantly heard the sound of other people breathing, if you constantly felt dust falling on your skin, can you imagine what that would be like? I mean, it would be sensory overload, right? So our bodies are equipped to screen out certain things that are imperceptible to us, or not imperceptible, but aren't important to us. Are you conscious of your heart beating? Well, I am that. Right? But normally we don't think about it, we don't feel it, unless we consciously attempt to feel our heartbeat, or we've just been running or in some other way exerting ourselves. Why? Could you imagine what it would be like if that was constantly going on? You constantly felt your heart beating in addition to everything else. Fortunately, we don't have to be conscious of our heart beating to keep our heart beating, because otherwise we wouldn't get anything else done. And so there are certain things that are technically sense experiences that happen, but we're only aware of certain things, we're only conscious of certain things, depending upon what we put our attention to. And so I only hear the things that I'm paying attention to some extent, only see the things that I'm consciously seeing. There's a lot of other things that are going on that I could see, but it's not part of my attention. But then also a lot of that is then shaped by my cultural experiences, my upbringing, a variety of other things that are related to how I sense things. So back to the picture of the woman with the box on her head, or is it a window? Shaped by a lot of my cultural understanding. So those kind of things affect our perception. There are a lot of things that are possible experiences, but we are equipped with filters so that we can exist and not be disturbed or distracted all the time by other things that are necessarily unimportant. Okay, so what does this have to do with ministry? How does that relate? I mean, it's a nice little thought experiment and kind of takes us on an interesting journey to see, okay, hey, there's a picture and it's cool that the artist was able to incorporate so many things in that particular picture. But what does that have to do with ministry? Well, in one respect, it's very important for us to remember that one of the key claims within Christianity is that there is an existence, a reality, a group of beings outside our sense perceptions that do have a real existence, namely God. Now, when's the last time you sensed God? Now you might say, well, I've had some experiences in my life where I felt God's presence. Or I've had some experiences where I was under deep emotional turmoil or conflict and I felt God's peace. I don't deny the validity of that. I would say those kind of things happen. But in general, those types of experiences are not the norm. They are the exception. In general, God is not experienced through the senses. I would believe that we can look back on things and see the hand of God, or maybe in the moment see, okay, I think God's working here. But in general, we don't see God in the sense like we see each other. Most of us don't hear God's voice. We don't touch God. So at least we're saying that there is an existence, and there is the existence of at least someone that is larger than what we can consciously experience. But when we talk about those kind of things, it's easy for us to kind of think about that in terms of there's a heaven over there where we go when we die, and that kind of realm is separate and distinct. But I want us to think about, and this is where we're kind of drawing the connections here, one of the dangers that happens for ministry, just like can happen for anything else, is that we can assume that this experience that we have, the sensory experience we have, is the most real.